He-Jin stared at her desk, trying to ignore the paper ball that had just hit her head. It was the third one today. Around her, the whispers grew louder in the classroom. "Look at her, acting all special again," Yuri said from 2 rows back. "She thinks she's better than everyone else." He-Jin didn't move. She kept her eyes on her notebook, where she had been drawing strange symbols without realizing it. She quickly erased them when she noticed. These odd drawings kept appearing in her notes lately, and she had no idea why. The math teacher, Mr. Park, wrote equations on the board, but He-Jin already knew all the answers. She always knew things she shouldn't. It scared her sometimes. "He-Jin," Mr. Park called suddenly. "Since you're not paying attention, perhaps you'd like to solve this problem." The class went quiet. Yuri and her friend smirked, expecting He-Jin to fail. He-Jin stood up slowly, walked to the board, and picked up the chalk. Without hesitation, she wrote down the correct answer and the steps to solve it. She hadn't even looked at the lesson. "That's correct," Mr. Park said, surprised. "Very good, but please pay attention in class." As He-Jin walked back to her seat, she heard Yuri whisper, "Teacher's pet. Bet she cheated somehow." Only Jaiho, who sat next to her, gave her a small smile. He was her only friend in the whole school. "Don't listen to them," he whispered. "They're just jealous because you're smart." But He-Jin knew it wasn't just about being smart. Strange things kept happening around her. Last week, when a car almost hit a child outside the school, He-Jin had somehow known it was coming. She had pulled the kid back before anyone else even noticed the car. The week before that, she had spoken perfect English to a lost tourist, even though she had never studied the language. The bell rang, signaling lunch break. He-Jin packed her books slowly, waiting for most of the class to leave. But Yuri and her friends stayed behind. "Hey, weirdo," Yuri called out. "Why don't you show us how you cheat on tests? Or are you too special to share your secrets?" He-Jin felt something stir inside her. For a moment, her vision blurred, and she saw Yuri differently, not as a high school bully, but as a minor threat to be neutralized. Her hands twitched, remembering movements they had never learned. She grabbed her desk hard, fighting these strange thoughts. "Leave her alone," Jaiho said, stepping between them. "Don't you have anything better to do?" Yuri laughed. "Aw, look. The weird girl needs her boyfriend to protect her." "Let's go, Jaiho," He-Jin said quietly. Her head hurt, like it always did when these strange moments happened. As they walked out, she caught her reflection in a classroom window. For a split second, she thought she saw someone else looking back. Someone older, stronger, wearing what looked like armor made of light. She blinked, and it was gone. Just her normal reflection again. A 16-year-old girl with ordinary looks and tired eyes. But the headache got worse, and in her mind, she heard distant voices speaking in languages she didn't understand. Something was wrong with her, or maybe something was right, just waiting to be remembered. Jaiho touched her arm gently. "Hey, are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," He-Jin lied, as the voices in her head grew louder. "Everything's fine." The school nurse's office was quiet except for the soft beeping of the medical scanner. He-Jin sat still as Nurse Kim moved the device around her head for the third time. "This is very strange," Nurse Kim muttered, frowning at the readings. "I've never seen brain patterns like this before." He-Jin's stomach tightened. "Is something wrong with me?" No, Nurse Kim said quickly. "It's just unusual. Your brain activity is off the charts, especially in areas that are usually dormant in humans." She stopped, realizing she had said too much. Outside the window, He-Jin noticed a man standing under a tree. He wore a plain black suit and had been watching the school for days now. Nobody else seemed to notice him. When their eyes met, he didn't look away. "I've been having dreams," He-Jin said suddenly, not sure why she was telling the nurse this. About stars, but not from Earth's view. I see them from different places, different worlds. And there are ships, huge ships that travel between them. Nurse Kim's hand froze over her notepad. For a moment, something flashed in her eyes. Recognition, fear, but it disappeared quickly. Maybe you're watching too many science fiction movies, she said with a forced laugh. Why don't you go back to class? But come see me if the headaches get worse. Walking back to class, Ho-Jin passed the school's trophy case. Her reflection showed in the glass, but this time she was sure. The person looking back wore gleaming armor that seemed to be made of pure light. The reflection raised its hand, and Ho-Jin found herself doing the same. Ho-Jin, Jai-Ho's voice broke the moment. What are you doing? She blinked, and the armored figure was gone. Nothing. Just thinking. You missed it, Jai-Ho said excitedly. Yuri tried to show off in gym class and fell flat on her face. Everyone laughed. But Ho-Jin wasn't listening. In her mind, she saw Yuri falling before it happened. She saw it exactly how Yuri's foot would slip, how her arms would wave, the exact way she would land. She saw it all like a military analysis, with angles and trajectories mapped out in her mind. Ho-Jin. Jai-Ho waved his hand in front of her face. Are you okay? You're doing that thing again where you space out. I think. Ho-Jin started, then stopped as a new memory hit her. She saw a massive room filled with holographic displays, countless alien faces looking to her for orders. She heard herself speaking in languages that had never been heard on Earth. The man in the black suit was suddenly there at the end of the hallway. This time, he spoke directly into her mind. The seals are breaking, Empress. His voice echoed in her head. We can't hold them much longer. You need to remember. Ho-Jin grabbed her head as pain shot through it. Jai-Ho caught her before she could fall. That's it, he said firmly. I'm taking you home. You're not well. As Jai-Ho helped her walk, Ho-Jin saw the man in the suit bow slightly to her. In her mind, stars exploded, empires fell, and great fleets of ships moved at her command. The memories felt like dreams, but the pain they brought was very real. Something's happening to me, Jai-Ho, she whispered. I think I'm remembering things, but they can't be my memories. They just can't be. Above the school, hidden from human eyes, a ship waited in orbit. Its crew had waited centuries for this moment. The Empress was finally awakening. Ho-Jin lay on her bed, staring at her ceiling. The pain in her head had gotten worse since Jai-Ho brought her home. Her parents were at work, and the house was quiet. Too quiet. It's time, a voice said. She sat up quickly. The man in the black suit stood in her room, though her door was still locked. He looked different now. His skin had a slight blue tint, and his eyes glowed faintly. Who are you? Ho-Jin asked, surprisingly unafraid. My name is Do-Won, he said. I am your guardian. I have watched over you for many cycles, what humans would call centuries. Ho-Jin's head throbbed. That's impossible. I'm 16 years old. Do-Won smiled kindly. Your current body is 16, but your spirit, your true self, you are much older, Empress Sua. The name hit her like a wave. Images flooded her mind. A throne room made of crystal, floating in space, armies of different alien species bowing before her, peace treaties signed under her watch. No, Ho-Jin whispered. This isn't real. It is all real, Do-Won said. You were the greatest leader our galaxy had ever known. You united 3 warring empires and brought peace to 1,000 worlds. But there were those who wanted war, who profited from death. They tried to kill you. Ho-Jin stood up, her legs shaky. If I was this Empress, how am I here? Why am I a high school student? We found a way to preserve your consciousness, Do-Won explained. We sent it far away, to a young planet where no one would look. We gave you a new life, a chance to grow up in peace, but now they have found you. The seals we placed on your memories are breaking. Outside, Ho-Jin heard a car stop. Through her window, she saw Jiho getting out, looking worried. Your friend comes at a dangerous time, Do-won said. They are already here. Who's here? As if answering her question, a bright light appeared in the street. A figure stepped out of it, tall, metallic, definitely not human. Jiho turned and saw it, his mouth open in shock. Without thinking, Hejin ran downstairs and out the door. The metallic being raised a weapon aimed at Jiho. Stop, Hejin shouted. Her voice carried power she didn't know she had. The air itself seemed to vibrate with her command. The metallic being froze. Then, to Jiho's amazement, it knelt. Empress, it said in a mechanical voice. Forgive me. I did not recognize you in this form. Hejin felt strange. Her body seemed to know what to do, even if her mind didn't understand. She stood straighter, her presence somehow larger. Rise, she said, her voice carrying that same powerful tone. Explain your presence here. Jiho stared at her. Hejin, what's happening? What are you? Do-won appeared beside them. She is the one who brought peace to the stars, the one they called the Light of Unity. She is Empress Sua, reborn. Hejin looked at her hands. They were glowing faintly, just like in her reflections. The memories were becoming clearer now, not just random images, but a whole life. A life of power, responsibility, and hard choices. Jiho, she said softly, I think I'd finally know why I've always felt different. She turned to her friend, her eyes now glowing with the same light as Do-won's. I'm not just Hejin anymore. I never was. Jiho sat on Hejin's living room couch, his hands shaking as he held a cup of water. The metallic being, which called itself a guardian, stood in the corner, perfectly still. Do-won had made tea appear from nowhere, acting as if this was all normal. So, Jiho said slowly, my best friend is actually a space empress. Hejin paced the room, her feet slightly floating off the ground without her noticing. I'm still me, Jiho. I'm just remembering who else I am. Young Empress, the guardian spoke, its voice like musical metal. The others will come soon. They have detected your awakening. Hejin stopped pacing. In her mind, she saw star maps, battle plans, and the faces of countless beings who had once served her. The memories hurt less now, flowing into her mind like water filling its proper place. Hejin, Jiho said, you're glowing again. She looked at her hands. The light beneath her skin pulsed with her heartbeat. When she touched the wall, ancient symbols appeared, spreading across the surface like ripples in a pond. Your powers returned quickly, Do-won said. But be careful. Your human body must adjust. Suddenly, Hejin's phone buzzed. A text from Yuri. Where did you go, weirdo? Everyone's talking about how you ran away crying. Hejin felt both her selves react. The human girl who was hurt by the words, and the Empress who saw the message as amusingly trivial. The conflict made her powers surge. The phone floated out of her hand, surrounded by light. Hejin. Jiho jumped up as all the objects in the room began to float. She tried to control it, but emotions from both lives crashed together. Memories of signing peace treaties mixed with memories of school lunch. Royal duties blended with math homework. The room's light fixtures burst with energy. Focus, Empress, Do-won said firmly. Remember your training. I can't. Hejin shouted. It's too much. Jiho did something brave then. He walked through the storm of floating objects and took her hand. Hey, he said softly, just breathe. Like when we practice for speech class, remember? The simple memory. Jiho helping her overcome stage fright. Anchored her. The objects slowly settled back down. The lights stopped flickering. Thank you, she whispered to Jiho. Then her eyes went wide. The school. I have to go back tomorrow. How can I go back to school like this? The same way you always have, Jiho said, squeezing her hand. One day at a time, I'll help you. The guardian moved forward. Empress, with respect, you cannot return. It is not safe. He-Jin felt her two selves align on this decision. I must return. My life as He-Jin is just as real as my life as Sua. I won't abandon either. Do-Won smiled. And that is why you were the greatest of us. You always understood the value of every life, every experience. Outside, the sun was setting. He-Jin watched it with new eyes, remembering sunsets on 1,000 different worlds. But this one, on Earth, with her best friend beside her, felt more precious than all of them. Tomorrow will be interesting, she said, trying to smile. I just hope I can get through math class without making everything float. The next morning, He-Jin walked into her classroom trying to look normal. Ji-ho stayed close to her. They had agreed on some basic rules. No floating, no glowing, and no using alien languages by accident. Class, Mr. Park announced, we have a new student joining us today. Please welcome Ta-Yang. He-Jin looked up and froze. The new student looked human, but her Empress self saw through the disguise. Under the human face was something else, something trained to kill. Ta-Yang smiled at the class, but his eyes locked onto He-Jin. Hello, he said. I'm looking forward to learning here. During math class, He-Jin felt Ta-Yang watching her. Her powers tingled under her skin, wanting to create a shield. Ji-ho noticed her tension and passed her a note. Are you okay? Before she could answer, Yuri raised her hand. Mr. Park, can Ta-Yang show us how they solved this problem in his old school? Ta-Yang walked to the board, passing close to He-Jin's desk. As he passed, she heard the faint hum of a hidden weapon. At lunch break, He-Jin and Ji-ho went to the roof to talk, but Ta-Yang was already there, waiting. Empress, he said, his human disguise flickering. You've hidden well all these years. He-Jin pushed Ji-ho behind her. You don't have to do this. The old wars must return, Ta-Yang said. The peace you built holds back progress. For the galaxy to grow stronger, there must be conflict. He pulled out what looked like a pen. It transformed into a glowing blade. He-Jin, run, Ji-ho shouted. But He-Jin stood her ground. Memories of countless battles filled her mind. Her body remembered moves from centuries of combat training. Ta-Yang attacked. He-Jin moved with impossible grace, dodging the blade. Her hands glowed as she deflected his strikes with shields of pure energy. Still fast, Ta-Yang noted, but you're weak in that human body. He was right. He-Jin felt her human body struggling to keep up with her Empress memories. She needed a plan. Suddenly, the door burst open. Yuri and her friends had come up for lunch. They froze at the sight. He-Jin glowing with light, Ta-Yang's human disguise half gone showing his alien face, and a weapon that shouldn't exist. What? What are you? Yuri gasped. Ta-Yang saw his chance. He turned his blade toward the group of students. Surrender, Empress, or watch your classmates die. He-Jin felt both her selves unite in anger. No one would hurt her people, not her subjects from the stars, and not her classmates on Earth. She raised her hands, and pure light filled the roof. When it faded, Ta-Yang was trapped in a cube of energy. I won't let you hurt anyone, He-Jin said, her voice carrying the power of her true self. Not here. Not ever. Yuri and her friends stared in shock. Ji-ho stood proudly beside He-Jin. Do-Won appeared from nowhere, nodding in approval. The other students have seen, Do-Won said. What will you do? He-Jin looked at her classmates, the same ones who had mocked her yesterday. Now they looked at her with fear and awe. I will protect them, she said simply. All of them. That's what an empress does. The school gym was empty after hours, except for He-Jin, Ji-ho, Do-Won, and surprisingly, Yuri. A week had passed since the roof incident, and things had changed dramatically. Focus on the memory, Do-Won instructed. Let your body remember what your mind once knew. He-Jin stood in the center of the gym, her eyes closed. The air around her shimmered with soft light. 20 feet away, Jaho held up flashcards with different alien languages on them. "What does it say?" Do-Won asked. "Peace through unity," He-Jin answered without opening her eyes. "It's in the language of the crystal realm." Yuri watched from the bleachers, taking notes. After seeing He-Jin's true nature, she had become fascinated instead of hostile. "Can all aliens understand each other's languages?" "No," He-Jin said, still concentrating. "That's why they needed me. I could speak to all of them. I could help them understand each other." Do-Won nodded. "Show them your diplomatic shield." He-Jin raised her hands. A dome of translucent energy spread from her, filling half the gym. Inside it, everyone could suddenly understand each other's thoughts and feelings. "Wow," Yuri whispered, feeling He-Jin's memories of peace treaties and alien councils. "You really did unite whole empires." "Try the combat practice now," Do-Won said. He-Jin opened her eyes, which glowed softly. Training drones appeared around her, a technology Do-Won had brought from their hidden ship. The drones attacked with stun beams. He-Jin moved like water, each step precise and powerful. Her hands created shields of light, and her movements controlled gravity itself. The drones couldn't touch her. "She's amazing," Yuri said to Jaho. "Hard to believe we used to make fun of her." Jaho smiled. "She's still He-Jin, just more." Suddenly, He-Jin stumbled. The constant practice was tiring her human body. The drones disappeared as Do-Won stepped forward. "Enough for today," he said. "Remember, your human form needs rest." Yuri ran down from the bleachers with a water bottle. "Here, I got this from the special spring in my grandmother's village. She says it has healing properties." He-Jin took the water gratefully. A month ago, Yuri had been her worst bully. Now she was trying to help. People could change, just like galaxies could. "The other students are asking questions," Jaho said. "They saw the fight with Taiyang. Rumors are spreading." "Let them spread," Do-Won said. "The time for complete hiding is over. But be careful, Empress. More hunters will come." He-Jin nodded, looking at her reflection in the gym's mirrors. Her school uniform now seemed to shift between normal clothes and her imperial armor, depending on how you looked at it. "I'm getting stronger," she said. "I can feel both my lives becoming one. He-Jin and Sua, they're both me." "And who are you now?" Yuri asked curiously. He-Jin smiled. "I'm someone who knows that every person matters, from the smallest school on Earth to the biggest empire in space. I'm someone who brings peace." Above them, hidden in orbit, more ships were arriving. Some came to help, others to fight. Earth was becoming the center of a galactic storm, and at its heart stood a simple high school girl who was also the most powerful empress the galaxy had ever known. "Tomorrow's history test is going to feel pretty small after all this," Jaho joked. He-Jin laughed. "Actually, I think I'll do better now. I've had centuries of practice taking tests." He-Jin stood at her bedroom window, watching the night sky. To normalize, it looked peaceful, but she could see them now. The ships hiding behind Earth's moon, more arriving each day. Her phone buzzed with news alerts. Strange lights seen over major cities. Global communications experiencing interference. Military forces on high alert. Jaho and Yuri sat on her bed, watching the news on a tablet. Do-Won stood in the corner, his face worried. "They're not even trying to hide anymore," Do-Won said. 3 rival fleets have entered the solar system. Why are they all coming here?" Yuri asked. He-Jin turned from the window. "Because of me. Some want to destroy me, some want to use me, and some," she paused, reading complex energy signals in the sky, "some want me to lead them again." Jaho looked up from the tablet. "The government's getting suspicious. They've closed 5 schools because of unusual activity. Our school is next." He-Jin nodded. She had felt Earth's authorities noticing the changes. Humans were smart. They knew something big was happening. Suddenly, her head snapped up. She felt something familiar, something old. "There's technology here," she said slowly. "On Earth. My technology, from my time as Empress." Do-One's eyes widened. "The seed vault. You remember?" "Yes." He-Jin walked to her desk and drew a map. "Before they sealed my memories, I hid backup systems on Earth. Weapons, shields, communication devices. Everything we'd need if danger came." "Where is it?" Yuri asked excitedly. "Underground," He-Jin said, drawing more details. "Deep under the old mountains. I chose Earth for my rebirth because I'd already hidden my most powerful tools here." A bright light flashed outside. Through the window, they saw a massive ship drop its cloaking shield. It hung over the city like a second moon. He-Jin's phone exploded with messages from classmates. Everyone could see it now. The secret was out. "We need to get to the seed vault," Do-One said urgently, "before they find it." "How?" Jai-Ho asked. "We can't just walk out of the city with all this happening." He-Jin smiled, her Empress memories providing an answer. "Actually, we can. Yuri, call your friends. Ji-Ho, get your sister's van. Do-One, we need disguises." "What's the plan?" Yuri asked. "A school field trip," He-Jin said. "Who's going to stop a bunch of teenagers going camping? We'll hide in plain sight." As they prepared to leave, more ships appeared in the sky. News helicopters flew between buildings. Police sirens wailed in the distance. He-Jin felt the weight of both worlds on her shoulders. Earth was her home now, but the conflicts of her past life were catching up. She couldn't let her new world become a battlefield for her old one. "The seed vault has what we need," she said. "Technology to protect Earth, to talk to the fleet commanders, to show everyone a better way." "And if they don't want to listen?" Jai-Ho asked softly. He-Jin's eyes glowed with power. "Then I'll remind them why I was the Empress. Not through fear, but through wisdom. That's how I united the galaxies before. That's how I'll do it again." Above them, the ships of 3 ancient empires gathered. Below, a group of teenagers packed camping gear into a van, preparing to save the world. "Don't forget your homework," Jai-Ho joked, trying to lighten the mood. "We might still have that history test after we save Earth." The old mountain cave looked ordinary from the outside. He-Jin stood at its entrance with Jai-Ho, Yuri, and 5 other classmates who had joined their camping trip. Military helicopters flew overhead, searching for signs of alien activity. "It's deep inside," He-Jin said. "Follow me." They walked for an hour through dark tunnels. He-Jin's glowing form lit the way. Finally, they reached a smooth wall covered in strange symbols. He-Jin placed her hand on the wall. Light spread from her touch, forming patterns. The wall simply disappeared. "Wow," Yuri whispered. They entered a vast chamber filled with advanced technology. Screens lit up automatically, showing maps of Earth and space. In the center stood a platform with what looked like a throne made of light. "Your command center," Do-One said with respect. He-Jin walked to the throne. "This will let me talk to everyone at once, humans and aliens. But first," she touched a control panel, and the chamber hummed with power. Above ground, invisible shields spread over every major city on Earth. The alien ships suddenly found themselves unable to hide. "They're visible now," Jai-Ho said, watching the screens. "Everyone can see them." He-Jin sat on the throne. Her school uniform transformed into her imperial armor, beautiful and powerful. "Time to introduce myself to Earth." Every screen, phone, and computer on the planet lit up. People everywhere saw He-Jin's face. When she spoke, everyone heard her in their own language. "People of Earth, and people of the stars," she began. "I am Empress Sua, once ruler of 3 united galaxies. I am also He-Jin, a student at South River High School. I am both, and I am here to protect all of you." In the chamber, her classmates watched with pride. On the screens, they could see people stopping in streets worldwide to listen. To the fleet commanders in orbit, He-Jin continued, "You remember my reign. You remember the peace we built. Earth is under my protection now. Any act of aggression will face my full power." The alien ships began moving, taking positions around Earth like a protective ring. To the people of Earth, she said, her voice gentle but firm, "You are not alone in the universe, but you don't need to fear. Your world will not become a battleground. Instead, it will be a bridge between galaxies." Yuri squeezed Jaiho's hand as they watched their friend change history. Suddenly, warning lights flashed. A rebel ship was diving toward a major city, weapons ready. He-Jin stood. Energy flowed from the throne through her body. She raised her hand, and the rebel ship stopped in midair, held by invisible force. "I said," He-Jin's voice boomed across space, "Earth is protected." The rebel ship's weapons powered down. Other ships moved to surround it. "Your classmate is amazing," one of the students whispered to Jaiho. Jaiho smiled. "She always was. We just couldn't see it before." He-Jin turned to her friends. Light swirled around her, but her smile was still the same one they knew from school. "Ready to help me change the world?" she asked. "Will we still make it back for the history test?" Yuri joked. He-Jin laughed. "Don't worry. After today, they'll have to rewrite all the history books anyway." 1 month after He-Jin revealed herself to the world, South River High School reopened. Things were different now. A shield of invisible energy protected the building. Alien ships could sometimes be seen through the classroom windows, patrolling peacefully. He-Jin walked through the school gates, wearing her normal uniform. Students bowed slightly as she passed, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Ji-Ho and Yuri walked beside her, carrying their books like any other day. "The history test is still happening," Yuri said, checking her phone. "Can you believe they added a whole section about you?" He-Jin laughed. "That's going to be easy to answer." In class, Mr. Park taught as usual, but now his lessons included information about other worlds. A hologram of the galaxy floated above his desk, a gift from the Empress to help Earth learn about its new neighbors. During lunch break, He-Jin sat with her friends on the roof, the same roof where she had fought Taiyang. The former assassin now served as one of Earth's protectors, having chosen peace over conflict. "The United Nations is meeting again today," Jaiho said, sharing his lunch. "They want to discuss opening the first Earth embassy in space." He-Jin nodded. "I'll attend after school. Being Empress is easier now that I don't have to hide it." A small alien ship flew by, piloted by one of Do-Won's people. The pilot waved, and He-Jin waved back. Above them, the sky shimmered with protective shields that only she could see. "Remember when we used to make fun of you for being different?" Yuri asked quietly. "I'm still sorry about that." "The past is past," He-Jin said kindly. "Look at us now, helping Earth join the galactic community. That's more important than old hurts." After school, He-Jin changed into her Empress form to attend the UN meeting. Her armor glowed as she addressed world leaders, helping them understand their new place in the universe. But her mind was already thinking about tomorrow's math homework. Later that evening, she sat in her bedroom doing equations. A screen on her wall showed the status of 3 galaxies, all peaceful, all united. Earth was becoming a bridge between worlds, just as she had promised. Empress Do-Won appeared, bowing slightly. The fleet commanders send their daily report. "All borders are calm." "Thank you," He-Jin said. "And my other project?" Do-Won smiled. "The first Earth students will be welcomed at the Galactic Academy next month. Your idea of cultural exchange is working perfectly." He-Jin looked at a photo on her desk, her class picture from before everything changed. She was hiding in the back row then, trying not to be noticed. Now she had helped those same classmates become Earth's first generation of galactic diplomats. I have everything I lost, she said softly, and everything I gained. Both lives are complete. A message popped up on her phone. Jai-Ho reminding her about tomorrow's group project. He-Jin smiled. She was the most powerful being in 3 galaxies, but she still had to finish her school assignments. And that was exactly how she wanted it to be. Outside her window, Earth's night sky glowed with the lights of friendly ships. In her heart, 2 sets of memories lived in perfect balance. The eternal Empress and the high school girl, now and forever one person. The universe was at peace, and He-Jin had homework to do.